Now, if the BitBoy and Ben Armstrong and HitNetwork crypto saga couldn't have gotten any weirder, it has now transformed into this like conspiracy theory nightmare / wet dream for conspiracy theorists. But the TLDR on this is that Ben basically started up his own channel, his own other YouTube channel that is now called Ben Armstrong because BitBoy Crypto was rebranded to the Discovery Crypto name. And man, this could honestly be like the worst move that he has ever made now, because now he is literally live streaming and has been arrested live on his live stream in front of another person's house. So if you want the TLDR on Ben Armstrong, HitNetwork, the Duchess of DeFi, the BMF Black Mafia family, Jay Prince, Mike Will Made It, the Houston Mafia, an FBI agent named Rico, and so much more, then please pay attention because we are about to get into it and it is wild. Now, let's talk about my thumbnail really quick. That is actually a thumbnail, and I have the receipts on this. I made this thumbnail literally before all of this stuff happened, because here's the thing. Ben has been dropping a bunch of leaked, recorded conversations, and then TJ Shed from the Hit Network, the CEO of Hit Network, Ben's, I guess still business partner, but kind of ex-business partner now, has gone on Altcoin Daily and was talking and all this stuff. And they're making this very public. And so I made that thumbnail just like as like almost, it was honestly a joke. And then later on that night, last night, I'm literally sitting there, and then all of a sudden BitBoy's live streaming and getting arrested live on stream. Now, if you want to kind of see where the live stream is, all right, I'm going to present my screen and show you exactly where you can see this, because he's obviously had to get deleted off of his channel for obvious reasons, but you can see it's not here. But if you go right here, this is where his full BitBoy live stream is. This is that Martini guy. Shout out to this guy for, I guess, downloading it and, showing it right now. Here's the other thing. Okay. Because there's a lot to unpack here, and we're going to get into it. But there's even this video of Ben running away from this Carlos Diaz's, who he was, essentially going in, confronting him at his home, running away. But he's saying in the video that he's not scared of Carlos Diaz. But, Carlos, he went up and rang his doorbell and then ran away. Kind of, it was an odd thing for him to say, how he's basically saying, I'm not scared of you. I'm not scared of you, calling him out on camera in front of his house. But then you see the Ring video camera footage from behind the scenes, and he's doing the exact opposite of what he was saying. Now, BitBoy did decide to live stream on YouTube, and he scheduled it ahead of time at Carlos Diaz's house, the guy that he accuses of stealing his Lambo. More on that coming in just a second. Then he shows up to his house on a live stream with the woman that he had an affair with, Cassandra Wolf, the Duchess of DeFi, after they'd apparently just went to his daughter's tennis match. This is what he told, the police when they showed up. And this is the woman whom he has allegedly been paying $50,000 a month to. And there's much more on that to come in a minute as well. With a gun in his car and apparently drugs in his car. Now, that was not confirmed. He confirmed that there was a weapon in his car. I don't think there were actually drugs in his car. I think that was like pure speculation from a lot of people, just because of the way that he was behaving and stuff. Then he commences to document Carlos's home street in Georgia. And then, surprise, surprise, someone calls the cops, and the cops show up. Like, are we surprised? Then BitBoy is arrested with, a weapon in his car, which I assume is a legal weapon, because this is not on his docket for, what he was charged with. And the Cassie lady, the Duchess of DeFi, that he had an affair with. And it's unclear to me whether she got arrested or not. I highly doubt that she did. The cops even asked, like, who else was in the car? And that's when it comes out. This literally happens on his live stream. They're like, who's in the car? Is there anybody else in the car? Yeah, there's somebody else in the car. Well, who's in the car? And he's like, who's in the car? And then they finally just yell at him, who's in the car? Because they got the cops called on. The cops were called, and they thought that he had a weapon. So they're trying to make sure the person in the car doesn't have that weapon ready to do something wild. And that's when it comes out that it was Cassie. He is obviously, now he is out on bail. Just as an FYI, his bail was $2.6K, $2,600. And just as another FYI, because, you know, I like to bring things to the light that a lot of people aren't talking about or may not know. An employee of the Department of Justice lives right next door to where Ben was out ranting and raving in front of Carlos Diaz's house. So it might not have actually even been Carlos that called the cops. It could have been the employee of the Department of Justice or any other person on that road that lives there or anybody that was watching the stream. But he did absolutely telegraph his next move and put that live stream up before he even went. So if Carlos is watching his channel, Carlos knows, well, Ben's about to come over here and live stream and talk about his Lambo, giving him plenty of time to obviously get the Lambo out of there and, you know, obviously set things up. Now, who is Carlos Diaz? He is literally an investor in the Vumio NFT platform for like $1 million. So he's invested about $1 million in the NFT platform. And apparently he was a huge fan of BitBoys. That is essentially his only affiliation with Hit Network. And he has never actually been an employee of Hit Network, not a paid employee. And they've made that abundantly clear. Now that is verified. Okay. Ben was being threatened. So he says, these are the things that Ben is saying in his video. And that's why I'm doing this, so that you don't have to go and watch the 17 interviews with TJ, all the live streams on BitBoy's channel, all the shorts, all the leaked info, conversations, and the phone calls and stuff, and then have to go watch this 37-minute live stream right before he gets arrested. But he states that he was being threatened by Carlos. But from what we understand from behind the scenes, Ben was actually losing a bunch of money for Carlos, potentially behind the scenes. And he wasn't just losing Carlos money. He was also losing his own money. And he was losing the Hit Network funds. Obviously, we'll talk about that in just a second. But he was losing his own money through a gambling addiction. And he lost. This is one of those things that no one else knows. And, you know, this is why I like to bring these types of things to light. These are the types of, you know, things that, you know, just from the network that I have, we kind of find these things out. He did lose about $1 million. It might have been a little less than that in one sitting in 2023 gambling, because apparently he's addicted to gambling. I don't know if you can call him a full-fledged gambling addict, but, you know, he did lose $1 million in one sitting gambling. And the reason that we know this is because we actually know the person that he lost it to. This was at an event that no one was really, you know, talking about publicly, obviously, because it was a private event. And he was playing against a business owner that some of my people know. And that business owner has like 100% confirmed. This is before all this stuff even came out. We've known about this for like weeks, months. And he confirmed that basically BitBoy, Ben Armstrong, had lost about $1 million at that gambling event. And then it is alleged that he took that $1 million from Hit Network funds to cover that debt, and without permission, that's the issue, apparently, is what Hit Network is saying. And apparently Hit Network does have proof of these funds being moved illegally as well. And if that is the case, then I do hope that they have proof of that, because those are some serious, very serious allegations to say that he, you know, took from his own personal gambling debt and paid it with company funds. So if that is true, then I hope that they do have the evidence to back that up, because that is one heck of a claim to be putting on somebody. And then apparently Hit Network also has receipts that show money being moved illegally in other ways. Now, is it Ben or is it them? And they are covering it up this way? No one can actually be sure of that. So I'm not going to sit here and speculate on who moved those funds or if they even existed until the court documents come out showing that. I'm just telling you what the birds are chirping in the background. And apparently they've even reported, this is confirmed that this was reported. Is it confirmed that it actually happened? Not yet, but my guess is they're not going to report this in a court document without having proof of it, but that he was paying his mistress $50,000 a month, right? So was she his actual mistress, this Duchess of DeFi? And this is the Cassandra Wolf, right? And I'll actually show you exactly who that person is, because we have her Twitter pulled up right here, and I will go ahead and screen share and show it to you. Now, if you don't know who the Duchess of DeFi is, this is her. Okay. This is obviously, you know, ben.eth, but this is the Duchess of DeFi right here. Okay. So just so that everybody knows, that is her. All right. Now let's get into the other stuff. All right. So there's a lot to unpack here. What I'm wondering is, was she a mistress or was she a business acquaintance that kind of took advantage of Ben? I don't really know, but being paid $50,000 a month, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of money. And he said that she was being paid that. And we'll actually, I'm not even going to give you the spoiler on that. We're going to get into that in just a second with the court documents that have been filed. They even lost Hit Network that $20 million stake deal. If anybody knows about the stake deal, that was worth $20 million over 18 months. And yeah, so that's lots and lots, millions of dollars in funds that are now just not ever going to hit Network, no pun intended. Now, there are reportedly many companies. This is I guess, good news for Hit Network, but also bad news that they lost stake, that are hitting them up since Ben has left. And this is what they're reporting. And that is because they said that those companies didn't want to sponsor the Hit Network whenever Ben was there. But now that Ben's gone, you know, they're okay with coming in as sponsors. Now, Ben has now publicly ousted Wendy up on Twitter. Okay. And you can go and check that out on his Twitter. He's publicly ousted Altcoin Daily. He did that on Twitter. He did it. He kind of reeled it back in on his own live stream after he had got out of jail. All right. And this is because Altcoin Daily did an interview and pressed TJ. So I honestly think that they did a good job on the interview. And then he's also ousted Crypto Blood as well. Literally everyone. He's literally saying that if these people that have relationships with him personally go on ATB or help participate and give information to the Hit Network, that he is absolutely cutting them off. And in my opinion, this is just my opinion, this is basic manipulation to control the rhetoric. For a person that actually speaks out about kind of like censorship and like, Gary Gensler, you can't censor me, and then proceeds in his very next breath to censor all of his friends by essentially gaslighting them, that's a little odd. So, you know, like, you got to practice what you preach. Okay. So then he asks his own community, right? Because he says he doesn't have any, you know, money to fund his feud with the Hit Network, instead of, you know, obviously just like working it out behind the scenes. And, you know, he's saying, hey, I'm going to hire this legal counsel and stuff like that. Well, they did actually help fund him $200,000, over $200,000 in donations. But this is when this man owns a multi-million-dollar mansion, right, in Georgia, multiple cars, has bragged about having 8 figures in crypto in his portfolio, right? So why exactly is he asking his audience to fund his legal campaigns? And that's only one little fine point of my entire, I guess, point that I'm making. But then you're taking the money and paying the legal team, right, to take care of this for you. But you're not trusting them to do that, because then you're going out and live streaming, you know, with your mistress in the car that you say that you don't want to have anything to do with anymore because it ruined your family, and that, you know, you love your wife and you love your kids and you would never do that to him again. And then literally like a couple of weeks later, you're in front of the guy's house that you're accusing of stealing your Lambo with her in the car, getting arrested, instead of letting the lawyers handle it. These are the things that lawyers should be handling, not you going out and live streaming. That's actually going to absolutely harm your case. And I think he's aware of that, because in his live stream that he just did today, he said like, hey, I hope I'm watching to see if my lawyers text me. Dude, then don't do what you're talking about doing, right? So another thing that the Hit Network is also accusing Ben of doing is sexual assault, not only to women, but of men in the office. Like, I'm talking to the tune of humping employees like repeatedly over and over. And apparently this has not come out yet, documented. So don't put too much weight on this yet, right? But these are literally just accusations from the Hit Network. But they say that they have records that are of like multiple men being sexually assaulted, or not sexually assaulted, harassed by Ben, right? And I don't really want to touch too much on that, because until they kind of like show some type of proof and like records indicating that. but this is what they're filing in their court documents, which we're going to talk about in just a second. Now, BitBoy, this is where it gets into this crazy conspiracy stuff where he starts talking about people killing people, like United States representatives getting in and ordering people to do like heinous acts, right? But BitBoy literally goes on in his live stream. This is all on his live stream. I'm reporting on it right now. Says Mike Will Made It, the producer, and his father are literally, right? I'm going to show you who Mike Will Do It is first, actually. Add to stage. Mike Will Do It. Okay, so this is Mike Will Do It, all right? So he is an American record producer, and then this is Jay Prince, who is also a music executive and promoter from Houston, okay? So keep these guys in mind, all right? Now, he's saying that Mike Will Do It, the producer, and his father want Ben dead, like want Ben Armstrong dead. Then he cites that Carlos is the one that told him that. And also says that Carlos Diaz wants him dead and that he's been threatening him. Then he says that Carlos is tied to the BMF, Black Mafia family. And if you guys know anything about hip hop culture, that was a big thing in Atlanta a long time ago. They all got brought up on these RICO charges. It was Demetrius Flannery and his brother, I forget what his brother's name was, but anyways, they brought out a lot of different hip hop rappers, like Young Jeezy was tied to BMF. T.I., I believe, did some shows with them and stuff like that. Anyways, they were this huge drug enterprise. So they're not actually the mafia. They're just called the Black Mafia family. That's just what they called their organization, right? And so anyways, he's saying that the Black Mafia family, through their ties with Carlos Diaz, has somehow infiltrated his office, his business, his warehouse, his building, right? Over at Hit Network. So this is where it starts to get into this like wild conspiracy banter stuff, right? And he says that Carlos Diaz stole his Lamborghini. Even though Carlos Diaz's name is on the Lamborghini's title and he's not supposed to be involved with Hit Network at all because he's only got he's like invested $1 million into the NFT platform. So I don't really understand. And he even acknowledged in his own leaked video of a conversation with Carlos that the Lamborghini was in his name and that his name was on the title, Carlos Diaz's name on the title. Now, BitBoy then also on this live stream commences to saying that Carlos is accusing Ben Armstrong and Ben.eth for his losses on bencoin. So on Carlos's losses for bencoin. And then Carlos apparently lost $300,000 of Master P's money. Master P, the hip hop mogul from the 90s. This is getting crazy. Then Ben.eth is essentially this Twitter influencer. Like, I'm trying to kind of update people and let people know like who all these people are. So this is Carlos, right? And then this is Ben.eth. So Ben.eth is actually the person that brought out PSYOP. He brought out Loyal, and he brought out bencoin. Okay, so that's why Ben.eth is in this now. And they're trying to say that this is like going to be some type of ecosystem with Loyal, PSYOP, and bencoin. Again, not financial advice. Don't buy into this stuff. Seriously, these meme coins. Yeah, I mean, they can make you money, but they can also get you wrecked. But apparently somebody with a political connection, and I think he said it was like some U.S. representative from like California or something like that, told Carlos Diaz to go over and beat up Ben.eth, which apparently he did. And, you know, we don't know that for fact, but apparently Carlos told BitBoy that he beat up Ben.eth. And then this, I'm not going to say the person's name because I don't think that there's any validity to it, but this political person that powers that be told Carlos to then kill Ben.eth with a fentanyl syringe. This is like the last thing that BitBoy said before the cops like came up, because the cops were there and he's like, oh, I got to get this out really quick. If any of this stuff is true, like this is the most like Matrix crazy conspiracy theory stuff. I've never seen anything like this. It's crazy that this is happening inside of the crypto market. Then BitBoy accuses also Carlos Diaz and Mike Will Do It work for Jay Prince, which is James Prince. He's the producer that I showed you earlier from Houston. He's like an executive, like a record company executive. and then accuses Jay Prince of being the leader of the Houston Mafia, which, right or wrong, okay, I kind of understand like the reference there, because with so much money and so much influence becomes so much power, and you could consider that person like a boss or a mafia if they have that big of an organization. But usually when you call people the mafia, it's usually a criminal organization. Not saying that Jay Prince doesn't fall into that category. I don't know enough about it to know that. But then BitBoy, so Jay Prince is like this executive, this record executive label person, right? And he was kind of in like the controversy with Takeoff, which is the dude from the Migos that got killed whenever he was in Texas. A lot of people said that Jay Prince had something to do with it because he was supposed to be offering him protection in Houston while he was there, right? But then BitBoy, again, in his own live stream, apparently says that Jay Prince should watch out for Carlos Diaz because he has loose lips and is running around telling people who killed Takeoff of the Migos in Texas. And not only all of this, but Ben has been live streaming like every single day and is leaking conversations between himself and TJ at the Hit Network, as well as conversations in between him and Carlos, because Carlos essentially leaked the very first, bombshell conversation where Ben Armstrong admitted to cheating on his wife live on that call. Now, then also Ben is accusing Hit Network of pumping and dumping Bambi coin, which was a meme coin, right? And trying to get him to participate in it. Okay. Now, this isn't a new concept. I'm honestly, I wouldn't be surprised about any stuff like that, because this isn't a new concept with influencers. A bunch of influencers getting in early on a coin and then pushing it to their audience. And then, they profit from it. Like they're using their social influence to do that. A lot of influencers do it. I see it happen all the time. Now, was it a coordinated thing? I can't really comment on that, nor would I. But what I can say is that the FTC is probably going to have something to say about that, if that is indeed true, is my guess. And the whole bencoin loyal and PSYOP stuff, I'd say the SEC is probably going to have a field day with that as well. And potentially the CFTC with that as well. So, if they are doing all these pump and dumps with all these stupid meme coins, yeah, I mean that there's going to be some big troubles, which is, hints at, why I made the thumbnail. And I thought it was comical at first until Ben actually went to jail like a few hours after I made the thumbnail. So not as funny now, but it is what it is. He is out on bond. And his charges, actually, I want to touch on this really quick, because it's not like he has these heinous charges. And I'm actually going to share this really quick. These are his charges. He was released on $2,600 bond. Okay. And this has been Armstrong. You can tell it's him. Now, his charges were loitering and prowling with a $1,300 bond, right? And then simple assault by placing another in fear, which is, $1,300. So basically they were saying like, hey man, you were out there ranting and raving, acting wild, and, this guy got scared. So now he can't even talk about this guy, and that came out in his live stream. And why can't he talk about him? Probably because this guy filed those charges on him and then put a restraining order on him. And that's a very calculated move, because now that guy, Carlos Diaz, can start to control the rhetoric, and he can actually silence Ben. Now, here's the weird thing, and this is the thing that I want to kind of stress and get across to people. This stuff right here, and I'm going to, share the screen. This stuff right here, all these lives that he's doing and the videos where he's like dropping these leaked audios, and then, Altcoin Daily doing the interview with TJ Shed. I'm not saying anything about Altcoin Daily here. I'm actually saying like this probably wasn't the best move from a logical perspective for TJ or from Ben. Making all of these things public. This is the problem with social media. This is the problem with influencers and people that have these types of social platforms, is they're so used to making everything public that there's certain things that you don't make public. And that's because the internet cannot be erased. If you put it on here, it cannot, it always exists, right? So all of this can be used in that court of law, in these proceedings, right? In these civil proceedings that we're about to talk about right now, because that's where the real evidence and like all the unearthings have come through. And by going out and doing all of these things publicly, you cannot bring those things back. If you go out and say it publicly, you can't bring it back, and that could potentially harm you in your court cases. So, and TJ even says this in his own interview, and Ben says it too in his own live streams. Like, Ben says, oh man, I hope my lawyers don't hit me up because, you know, I say something wrong or something like that. Just don't say anything. Right? Stick to the script, bro. Don't talk about what you've got going on over here. Talk about what built your social platform, which is crypto. Talk about that. Do that, right? Don't air out your dirty laundry here because you can't pull that back. And the same thing with TJ. TJ did the exact same thing. He was like, yeah, I'm actually doing this on against the advice of counsel on one of Ben's leaked, tapes of his conversation. And it's like, dude, pay attention to your counsel. You pay them hundreds of dollars, if not thousands of dollars an hour for a reason. They know what they're doing. They're the professionals in this. Stop airing this stuff out. Anyways, I want to get into all of this because I know we're already like pretty deep in this video, and I want to run through all this stuff really quick. And I'm just going to smash through it. This is basically the BitBoy lawsuits, okay? Ben has actually been denied, Ben Armstrong, an emergency injunction request filed to the Cobb County Superior Court in Georgia as part of his ongoing lawsuit against HitNetwork and the CEO, TJ Shed, and Shed's father, I think is TJ Sr., and that was just reported this past week. Now, the Cobb County Clerk's Office told Decrypt, and that's where I'm getting a lot of this information, that a new filing in the case shows the order as denied, that injunction, right? Because the plaintiffs failed to meet their burden of proof, okay, to support the case for his injunction against Sheds, both of the Sheds and HitNetwork, who are both HitNetwork employees, TJ Shed being the CEO, his dad being the CFO, okay? And now, Armstrong, he basically, we know who he was, okay? BitBoy was riding around in these, he had his Lamborghini, he was riding around in his Gucci tracksuits and all this stuff. But then we talked about this earlier, was asking his fans to fund his legal expenses, right? And these fans have already donated over $200,000 to help his legal expenses. And then he's going out here and doing all these live streams. And I think, in my opinion, he's probably hurting his defense because of that. So I would advise him to no longer do that anymore, right? Stick to the script, stuff that you talk about, right? Now, he initially filed this suit against the Sheds on August 30th, but then he withdrew it like a day later. And then the Sheds, HitNetwork, basically filed their own suit against him on September 11th, which was a pretty terrible day, I guess, to file that on. I don't even know how they filed it because the courts probably were closed on that day, or if they weren't, they should be. Armstrong refiled his suit then on September 12th, and a hearing at the Cobb County Superior Court took place on September 14th, and he has not been granted, Ben has not been granted temporary relief, so the lawsuits are ongoing now. Now, his complaint against the Sheds sought an injunction that would force them to return control of the company, including access to its email, social media accounts, and financial accounts. And multiple legal filings state that Armstrong owns 67% of the company that he has been removed from. Now, this is the problem with corporations. When you put people at, like, even though he owns 67% of the company, there's still board of directors, there's still CEO overrides and all of that type of stuff. Trust me, I know all about this. I have corporations being filed literally right now, multiple of them, right? Wolferfinance and PreSend, right? So when you have boards of directors, they can force you out. Okay. You can get fired. They can't take your equity from you, but they definitely can force you out of the company. Now, in his hearing last week, the attorney for Ben, which is James Merritt, alleged that the Sheds violated Georgia law by removing Armstrong from the company, arguing that the situation was akin to the employee stealing the company from the boss. I don't think so, because when you're the CEO, you're the top dog, right? You can take people out and you can say they're not removing him from the company. They're removing him as a personality on the channel. So then obviously Merritt, which is Ben's lawyer, argued that these guys were never equal partners at the company and wrote off the allegations that Armstrong had physically assaulted Shed as water cooler rumors, saying that it didn't happen and that they were being used to muddy the water in the case, which absolutely could be true. We don't know until we know. So Merritt also claimed that since Armstrong's removal, the company has lost over $1 million in revenue, as well as tens of thousands of subscribers. And if you go onto Social Blade, you can actually verify that, at least for the subscribers, right? And they definitely lost millions of dollars in revenue because they lost, let's be real, Stake. Stake was worth $20 million over 18 months. That's $1.5 million a month. Now, the Shed's attorney, George Koenig, announced at the hearing that the company is in divorce mode and is looking for a buyout. It's beyond repair, says Koenig. And that's actually what TJ was saying in his interviews and in his leaked book, right? So, alleging that Armstrong did commit physical assault and also feigned weird sexual things with people, which alludes to what I was talking about earlier, like the just sexual weird like stuff that BitBoy was allegedly accused of doing, which is like just randomly, I don't know, like messing around with people, you know, screwing around with them, humping them, whatever he's doing, just like making jokes. But I guess apparently these guys think that he took it too far. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. We'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. You know, they got to put people on the stand. They got to put people under oath and let them either tell their story or lie and perjure themselves and commit a crime. Now, the Shed's complaint also filed and it alleges that he was physically attacking employees at the Hit Network's offices by groping, grabbing, punching, pulling, thrusting, which is probably humping, tackling, placing hands on, bending over, and throwing filled bottles of protein shake at employees and committing other acts that were lewd, obscene, and humiliating. Now, I would assume, I don't know if they have cameras inside of their offices, but if they're saying that stuff, I would assume they're going to need to provide some evidence of that. So I hope that they have evidence to back that stuff up, because those are some pretty serious accusations as well. So, you know, just be ready to see that evidence if it ever does come out to the light. But that's where the evidence should be coming. You shouldn't be airing this on social media. You should be handling this in the proper channels and mediums, which is in court, right? Through your lawyers and your counsel. Now, Ben has obviously previously denied the allegations of the physical assault, and he told Decrypt that the rest of the physical allegations were made up in an effort to attack his character. Now, that could very well and very easily be true. That easiest way to discredit someone is to paint them out to be like a weirdo or a bad person, right? And now BitBoy isn't necessarily helping this himself, especially being caught on camera, getting arrested by the police with his mistress that he said he wasn't going to have anything to do with anymore. He's not necessarily helping his case, but all of these other things added on top of that, whether true or not, are definitely like sullying and murkying the waters on that. Now, then the Shed's filing alleges that Armstrong sent varying sums of money as large as $50,000 per month. This is where this comes in for non-business purposes to an independent contractor employed by the media company with whom Armstrong was having an inappropriate relationship with. Who do you think that was? Obviously, they're speaking of Cassandra Wolf, the Duchess of DeFi, the COO of bencoin, right? Now, then Armstrong, which has been, told Decrypt that such funds were actually sent to marketing contractor Cassandra Wolf as part of her 5% commission for securing the company's $15 million sponsorship deal with crypto gambling firm Stake. They wanted a witch hunt against her because she saved everyone's jobs, Armstrong told Decrypt. Without the Stake deal, most of the people at the company were heading towards getting laid off. So he's essentially saying, hey, she, saved the company, so we should pay her what that's worth, right? So we'll see how that plays out. Now, Koenig did say at the hearing that Hit Network has hired a full-time security guard to monitor its office building now, and that the Sheds have requested an ex parte temporary restraining order against Ben. Now, Merritt also requested an ex parte temporary restraining order against the Sheds on behalf of BitBoy, Ben Armstrong, right? According to an Ackworth Police Department report obtained by Decrypt, Shed told the police on August 21st he was concerned for his safety as he planned to remove Armstrong from the company because of misuse and possibly criminal use of company funds. Now, is like who misused and who misappropriated those funds. We don't know yet. That'll come out eventually, I'm sure. And if it was done on the blockchain, we'll definitely figure it out. So stay tuned for that. Now, Shed also told police that he thought that Ben was creating a hostile work environment and reiterated the assault allegation. Okay. That and said that it occurred after it was revealed that Armstrong committed adultery, according to, this report. Now, then they would add that the Hit Network offices to its area is a area of zone patrol for a few weeks. The Shed's injunction request for a restraining order has not yet been heard by a judge as of the writing of that article, right, which was a few days ago. And the, Hit Network employee familiar with the matter confirmed that to Decrypt. Now, the employee also said that Hit Network purchased the Lamborghini as a business asset and is now looking to sell it to recoup funds that Armstrong allegedly stole from the company. Now, until they can prove that he stole money from the company, give him the benefit of the doubt. The Shed's legal filing alleges that Armstrong committed theft and or mishandling of company assets, citing an example of a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT that Armstrong reportedly used to obtain personal loans of cryptocurrency worth $176,698.10. When a loan was not repaid, the company lost the NFT, which was valued at $107,000 at the time, according to the filing. So I'm sure that this is verifiable on the blockchain. So if they're going to bring an accusation like that, I would assume that they would be able to back it up, but I hope they can, because otherwise, man, this thing's going to go down nasty. Okay. The filing also alleges that Armstrong took 7 loans totaling another $119,000 on Mutant Ape Yacht Club NFT, ultimately resulting in the loss of the NFT, which was worth around $13,000 at the time. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like, he took out a $120,000 loan. The NFT dropped substantially in price. Why pay the loan back when it's only worth 13 grand? You lost 13 grand. But if he lost the money, then that's a big deal. Now, he also allegedly transferred other NFTs from the company's crypto wallets to his own personal wallets and transferred over $40,000 of USDT stablecoin from company wallets to one of his personal wallets and then to the wallet held by Stake, according to the Shed's lawsuit again. And in response to these claims, Ben told Decrypt that the NFT in question belonged to him and that the company's employees were aware of that. They said, this is what he's saying, this is a quote, they said multiple times they were mine because the company was mine. These were all conversations that took place, but they were never documented. That's the problem. If it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. And the company's not yours. It's 67% yours, but it's 33% TJ's too. So you always have to take that into account. If you're not the only equity owner in the company, you always have to take that into account, and you have to have fiduciary intent for your company as well, right? And then he also claimed to Decrypt that the USDT funds in question were sent right to the company, okay? And that there was no like third party or intermediary wallets that they went through. And then he said they don't know where it is because they have no idea what they're doing with the books. This is the result of a minority business partner hiring his own father to be the CFO, even though he was no financial background or experience, right? Alleging that Shed was the reason the company lost $3 million on the now defunct Celsius platform. Okay, that's what BitBoy's saying, Ben. Now, in a Wednesday live stream on his new YouTube channel, Armstrong also said that he has filed a police report due to a threatening text message he allegedly received. And, they tried to make contact with this person, but, they haven't obtained a copy of a report. And so basically, this is essentially everything that has transpired within the past week or so with Ben and bencoin. And bencoin absolutely just pooped to the bed yesterday whenever he was doing his live stream when he got arrested and stuff like that. So pay attention for everything that's going to be happening. Like, I know that this is very, I don't know, like reality TV, I guess, for crypto. And it's not like the most fun stuff to report on, even though I think a lot of people are entertained by it and it is comical to a certain extent. But also remember that these are real people in real life with real problems, real families, and real lives, right? So every one of us has problems, right? And you have to give people the benefit of the doubt as a human being and just understand, like, they're not just out here to entertain us And you have to understand that about people that are on social media platforms too. They are people too, and you have to treat them as such. So having a little bit of almost like understanding in these types, like the way that these things are going down would, do people very well, because just understanding that these are people too, and not just looking at them as entertainers or just paid, I guess, entertainers would probably help them, those people that are in this situation. So just remember that, because these are real people with real families. And even though you see a portion of what is going on, you do not see all of it that's going on in the background. Even though I've given you a couple of things that potentially I know from the background, or I've seen from the background, that nobody else really knows. I still don't know everything either, and nobody ever will, because a lot of what's happening is really up in people's minds. And then there's also other people that are affected by this that have absolutely nothing to do with it, right? Ben's wife, Ben's kids, TJ's wives, TJ's kids, people's families, people that are in the Hit Network that are influencers that are being affected by this substantially. Not just from a reputational perspective, but from a fiscal economics perspective as well. So just understand that it's more than just because I'm not gonna lie, I was Ben's wilding out right now, right? He's in front of this guy's house, he's live streaming, he's pacing, he's doing this crazy stuff, and as entertaining as it is to a certain extent, you almost have to feel for the people that are involved in this, whether you agree with them or not, whether you like them or not. You do have to feel for them, because they are human beings at the end of the day, and you should treat them as such, and as you would like to be treated if you were in said situation, because what they are dealing with isn't the easiest of things. So I will say that, and I'm not going to take anybody's side by any means. But what I would say is, if it was me in this position, I probably wouldn't be televising it, because that could harm the case that they're trying to make, from a legal perspective in the future. So with that being said, if you guys like content like this, obviously make sure that you smash that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. Boom! Bang on that notification bell. Comment anything that you want in the relevant sections. I appreciate it. I will try to keep up with this as much as possible. Probably won't be my best content where I get all the memes and the GIFs and the emojis and stuff like that, because this is hard-hitting news that has to be delivered quickly. I get that. So I'll take 20, 30, 40 minutes out of my day to do one of these quick things, kind of show you what's going on and stuff like that. But I can't necessarily make the real beautiful long form content like I normally do, with all the memes and the sound effects. So with that being said, I will see you in the next video, and pay attention, subscribe to the channel if you want more news like this, not only just on this, but on everything that's going on in the crypto sphere. We will see you later. Peace.